So our next topic is about payload installation and utilization. Okay. So this is not directly related to your flying, but the the moment you are utilizing the drone, definitely you are not just flying drone for just for a fun, right? You will be, I mean, unless you are doing some recreational activity or something initially. But if you are doing professional activity and all things, most of the time, I would say 99.9% of the time, you will be flying drone for some kind of a project or activity or something, right? So definitely it will be having some sort of payloads. Okay, so this topic is talking about different types of payloads which are currently can be attached to the drones. Okay, what could be types of payload? Any idea what kind of payloads we can attach to the drones or can are attached to the drones?
Most common is camera, inspection camera on a gimbal.
Yes, so
We can
gimbal
have
with RGB camera. That is
RGB
what.
camera.
Yeah.
We
What
can
else?
have LiDAR as a payload.
LiDAR, correct.
The thermal cameras and
Thermal cameras,
multispectral.
multispectral, hyperspectral.
We
Yes,
can also have communication devices for relay also as
correct. So you can have a speaker, PA system also connected to that. Okay. What else?
spraying system. Our
Spraying, like agriculture
spraying,
drone will
seeding.
have us. Yeah, spraying, seeding, monitoring. What else?
These are the civilian approach.
Yes,
Military
then
approach.
probably like हाँ military में भी हो सकता है, like आप rocket launch कर सकते हो, क्या बोलते हैं उसको, hand grenades drop कर सकते हो, bombs drop कर सकते हो, you know, all that military applications can be also there. Apart from that, you can use your drone for medical supply also, like delivery of groceries and all the things, or maybe even basic medical supplies, medical जैसे कि आप blood supply कर रहे हो, organ supply कर रहे हो, yeah, all those kind of thing. Or even in US there is a something called drone for first responder kind of services. जैसे कि वो you have an emergency situation. Now doctor cannot reach that place very fast. Okay, the drone will fly and come near to that person with related. Like if you call that emergency service, they will try to find out what is the situation. You can say, okay, the person is maybe affecting you, maybe going through a cardiac situation or thing. So they may immediately fly the drone with defibrillator. Okay, so immediately that defibrillator will come to your. There will be a camera. The doctor would be actually seeing that person, and the person who had called, he can actually use all those devices. The doctor will guide on the phone and how and what to be used, so that immediate support can be given to that situation. या फिर CPR देना है in that scenario. How to give the CPR या manual कुछ करना है. All that things can be provided. So these are some applications. Okay, maybe medical है, PA system है, या फिर anything else, like you feel like you have to think what applications can be or what purpose the drone. More and more applications are being utilized. The more adoption and utilization of the drone would be there in the day-to-day life. जैसे हम लोग ने पहले फोन सोचा था, फोन क्या था, यूज ऑफ द फोन वाज व्हाट इनिशियली, जब नोकिया लॉन्च हुआ था या नोकिया जैसे फोन आए थे 2000 में, 2002 में, राइट, व्हेन द फोन्स वर देयर. सो वी दैट टाइम देयर वाज वेरी बेसिक हैंडसेट, छोटा सा एलसीडी रहता था वेयर यू जस्ट एबल टू सी द नेम, number and basic things there. Okay, you were initially using phone only as a communication device, but as the software evolved, the technology evolved, आपका phone smart बनते गया, right? The application of on the smart, like if you see today mobile, the smartphone has replaced almost 15 items which were there on your desk, right? अभी आपके डेस्क पे सादा पेन भी नहीं रहेगा most of the time. We try to struggle to pen कहाँ पे टन, क्योंकि हमको आदत हो गया है मोबाइल में इंफॉर्मेशन स्टोर करना. अगर कुछ भी मेरे को नंबर भी टाइप करना है, सेव करना है, मैं मोबाइल में ऐसे कभी कभी व्हाट्सएप में स्टोर करता हूँ, राइट, या नोट्स में स्टोर करता हूँ मोबाइल में. आई डू नॉट हैव कैलेंडर इन माई रूम फॉर एग्जाम्पल. नाउ कैलेंडर आई ऑलवेज नंबर डेट देखना है तो मैं ऑलवेज मोबाइल पे देखता हूँ. टाइम देयर इज नो अर्लियर ऑन आवर डेस्क देयर यूज्ड टू बी अ क्लॉक. अभी मेरे डेस्क पे क्लॉक नहीं है. ऑलवेज वी रेफर आइदर लैपटॉप का स्क्रीन पे हम लोग टाइम देखते हैं या मोबाइल पे टाइम देखते हैं. We used to have earlier, whenever we goes to for outing or some location, we used to carry a separate camera. अभी हमारा मोबाइल ही इतना अच्छा equipped हो गया with the camera, so that you see how much applications, how much things have come inside the drones, into the mobiles. So same, once there are a lot of many applications and utilizations happens of the drone, it will start eating, I mean it will become your day to day need. Okay, जैसे हमारा इवन कंप्यूटर्स और लैपटॉप जब लॉन्च हुए थे 80s में 90s, people used to think how this will be useful for our day to day life, whether it will be useful for us or not. But today if you see back now, what people used to call that time, now you see you cannot think about without being available with the internet, laptop or tablet or whatever it is, right? And now even tablet mobiles, because of the mobile, even your tablet or laptop or desktop has, I don't know, I mean, I do not have a desktop in my house. Okay, until I have one desktop only, which I have made it only as a my gaming rig. Okay, but I do not have a normal desktop in my house. Earlier I used to have desktop, but now I have removed all the desktop. Only couple of laptops I have, and most of the thing happens on my mobile. Maybe like even nowadays, if I want to know the time, I do not refer to mobile. I will always ask Alexa or Google or maybe Siri, right? So हम लोग देखने का भी टाइम नहीं, हम लोग हमेशा बोलेगा hello Siri, what is the time? Hello Alexa, what is the time? So see how technology is taking up our day-to-day life. How it is become. See, sometimes it is good for us, but sometimes from some angle it is bad for us also, because we are becoming very very lazy. अगर आपने I don't know how many of you have seen a Wall-E movie. Have you seen a movie Wall-E?
Yes.
Wall-E आपकी मूवी देखा रहेगा तो उसमें ह्यूमंस दिखा है, राइट? Their hands and legs are very small. They are not doing anything. They are just sitting on an elevated chair and they're just doing leisure activities and doing nothing. Okay, so we are actually heading towards that scenario. Okay, जैसे कि हम लोग एक टाइम था कि हम लोग नीचे जाते थे, शॉप में जाते थे, शॉपिंग करते थे, you know, all that things we used to do it. But now because of this e-commerce, online shopping, apps, this and that, we are becoming more and more lazy. I don't remember any time I have gone to the shop, or even nowadays people don't go even to DMart also. Even sometimes earlier when we used to go to DMart, हमारा 2-3-4 घंटा हमारा आराम से टाइम पास होता. Though it was sometimes it was looking for like we are unnecessary buying things, but at least you used to roam around that DMart store for at least 3-4 hours. You used to see things, you know, lot of new things and all the things you used to see. But अभी वो भी बंद हो गया. You know, now the app has come, so you will book everything through the app. So how much, you know, the technology has taken over our life. Coming back to the topic, ये तो मतलब social topic है. Basically coming back to our topic, payload installation and utilization. There are different payloads which can be utilized. So let's see what are the payloads we can connect to our drones. So basics of payloads, types of payloads, and then what are the applications of those payloads. Okay, so it could be, as we said, remote control loudspeaker could be there. सर्च एंड रेस्क्यू एंड सर्च मिशन में भी आपको कभी कभी वो फ्लड लाइट लगा के ड्रोन फ्लाई करना पड़ता है, यू नो, ऑल दैट थिंग्स यू कैन डू. और मे बी फर्स्ट एड किट आई टॉक अबाउट, नाइट विजन, यू नो, thermal vision, night vision kind of cameras also you may have to fly. Visible light, optoelectronics, okay. Then maybe high powered HD cameras you have to fly, or maybe infrared thermal imagers also you have to fly. So depending upon your applications, you will be connecting different types of payloads to your drone. So what is the payload? Payload is the weight of a drone or remote piloted vehicle can carry or unmanned air vehicle can carry. So any weight additional to the drone, okay. That's why there is one is drone weight plus payload, okay. So that payload along with the payload weight is called MTOW, that is maximum takeoff weight. So when you are designing a drone, you have to design a drone such a way that it will have its own weight plus what is the additional weight it can carry, okay. That will be defined as your maximum takeoff weight. So maximum takeoff weight is nothing but drone weight plus payload weight, okay. So for our agricultural drone, maximum takeoff weight is 24.9. वो कब होगा? जब 24.9 when I fill the tank with my fertilizer, okay. So अगर मैं 10 लीटर का टैंक फिल करता हूँ with the fertilizer, then my actual weight of the drone would be 24.9 kg. अगर मैं टैंक फिल नहीं करता हूँ, so that 10 almost 10 kg weight कम हो जाता है. So my drone weight when I am flying, when I am training the students, that time my drone weight may be just 15 kg approximately, okay. 13 to 15 kg होगा, not more than that. So actually I am reducing the weight on the drone and I am increasing the endurance capacity of my drone for training purposes. Okay, so normally I will always fly my drone empty. Okay, it is normally your payload is counted outside the weight of the drone itself. So normally whenever you see what is the weight of the drone and what is the maximum takeoff weight of the drone, so these will be the two different weights you have to remember. When you say maximum takeoff weight means drone weight plus the payload weight, maximum payload it can take. That is, when you add these two, that will become your MTOW, maximum takeoff weight, and includes anything additional to the drone such as extra cameras, sensors, or packages for delivery. Okay, so like you can see here, there is a sensor, camera with sensors are there. This is a Predator drone. Like Predator drone has almost 8 kg का कुछ तो उसका कैमरा वेट है. It's very complex piece of camera, very high sensitivity, high range camera is there. Okay, so this Predator drone के अंदर जो कैमरा है, it's very very costly. It is more costlier. Sometimes the payloads are more costlier than the actual cost of the drone. For example, जिससे आप normal फैंटम ड्रोन लोगे तो फैंटम ड्रोन में कॉस्ट यू अराउंड 2 लाख रुपीज अप्रोक्सीमेटली. बट उसके ऊपर आप हाइपर स्पेक्ट्रल कैमरा लगाओ, मल्टी स्पेक्ट्रल कैमरा लगाओ, मल्टी स्पेक्ट्रल कैमरा विल कॉस्ट यू 4 lakh rupees. So your payload is more expensive than your drone. So definitely you need to take the insurance of your drone including your payload. Okay, so you have to define what payload you are going to use when you are taking the insurance. So accordingly you will, premium would be there, but you are still safeguarding your camera as well as your drone. Okay, then there could be a delivery drones also. Like this is one of the very useful case you might have seen on YouTube, or then you can search on YouTube. This is basically a medical supply. Like they supply the bloods to the remote locations or remote hospitals and all that things using the drones. So they have almost done how much in 3 years? They have 3 years or 2 years. Basically, they have done 1 lakh deliveries using drones, where it was very difficult to deliver the medical supplies or medical requirements to those remote locations. This is basically a use case in Kenya. Okay, in that Kenya location, they use these drones to deliver the medical supplies or medical requirements. Okay, so what is gimbal? Gimbal is nothing but, say, if you don't use gimbal, your drone, you can directly connect your camera directly to the drone. But then it will always have those vibrations. It will be difficult to manage. Your camera will be in a fixed state. So you will not have that whatever footage you need to, but you need to always adjust your drone accordingly to take the shot. Whereas if you put a gimbal, first thing you will have a stability. Okay, that vibration, jerkiness, blurriness, what comes in your photos or videos will not come, because drone movement and the gimbal will sense that whatever vibration, whatever movement is happening, the gimbal will stabilize the footage. Okay, stabilize the camera. So that is one advantage of it. Second is your drone doesn't, see, if you want to adjust your drone, you are consuming the power of the drone battery. But if your drone is just simply stable, hovering, so you are at a very optimal battery utilization you are at. And then you are only using minimal power for controlling your gimbal. So gimbal is very small motors are there which only controls two motions, right? Pan and tilt motions. So it will not consume much of the power compared to power consumed by the propeller motors. Okay, so that's why you always refer that use gimbal with your camera to stabilize your footages. Okay, so normally gimbal are integrated with IMU that responds to motion and provides inputs to the controller. So even sometimes from the IMU, the instructions are being given to the gimbal so that gimbal can stabilize on its own. Okay, activate separate motors to keep the payload steady on each axis. I mean both axes, X and Y axis. Normally it will. So pan and tilt आपका दोनों manage होगा using gimbal. Okay, so what are the different types of electro-optics payloads? RGB camera, thermal camera, it could be LiDAR, or it can be multispectral also, or even hyperspectral also. Okay, so RGB camera is nothing but human eye is sensitive to red, green and blue. Our normally eyes we normally see is red, green and blue, and the combination of this we interpret the color. Okay, so most standard drones comes with a camera that captures the same RGB band, so the image they produce recreate almost exactly what we see. So whenever we are capturing the image, the camera what is captures and what we see on the screen or on the print normally is the same thing what we are seeing through our eye. Okay, so that similarity is there in RGB camera. Okay, so what an RGB camera on can entire field, like either it can capture the entire field or a particular field, and you can use third party softwares. Okay, there are photogrammetry softwares are available which will convert your normal images into this type of images. Okay, which can give you a different perspective for analyzing further and all. Okay, so this is basically a topic more in detail when you learn more about GIS. Okay, I have a lot of GIS images also available. Some other time I will, when we are on the field, we'll try to discuss and I will show you that time. Okay, so this basically can show you different perspective of your field. In normal field you will see everything simple because whatever you are seeing through eye, that is captured in RGB. But if you want to see from a different perspective, you may have to use photogrammetry softwares, and the data what is been captured, based on that you have to interpret or generate that kind of images or scenario of your field. Okay, so basically your RGB camera is a sensor that collects the visible light between 400 to 700 nanometers, which converts an electrical signal and then organize the information to render images and videos. So every pixel by pixel there is a pixel, right? If you see the sensor, camera sensor is nothing but pixel. So those are pixels are there. So every pixel will have the RGB sense. So based on the light what it captures and falls, it basically converts those images in the pixel information into the image. Okay, so that's what it's saying, organize that information to render images and video streams. Okay, so what are features on the payload? Like there are lots of, now earlier whenever we used to use the cameras, those were very basic cameras, but nowadays whatever the cameras you see, they have a lot of feature built in, like they are become now smart cameras. Okay, so a lot of cameras can stabilize if there is a shaky blurriness or something, like you see in iPhone also, like how if you normally हम लोग normal shoot करते तो क्या होता है, कभी-कभी if object moves, what happens, it actually blurriness होता है, like बाकी के objects stable रहते हैं, but एक object बीच में, कोई एक person बीच में, while taking a group photo you would have sensed this type of problem, like everybody will not be steady, some or other person will always move here and there, see here, left, right, do some action or might try to do something. So those objects can come as a blurry or shaky kind of thing, but there are now cameras which has come can track all these things. They take multiple shots. Okay, they normally take the photos in a burst mode and try to recreate the image such a way that it is captured the right stable images. Okay, so that software stabilization either can be done in a video stream or also can be done in a photographs also there are drones which can track a particular object, like video processor steers the gimbal to maintain the object of interest inside the video frame even if the object is moving and aircraft platform is moving. Okay, so depending upon your game, your drone is moving or object is moving, any can be moving, right? So you have to keep a track of that particular object. You want to focus, like normally when the athletes are running or cycling कर रहे हो या car drive कर रहे हो, Formula 1, all that thing. So during that time you need, like normally now even in the cricket matches also we have seen, right, they are using those spidey cams, or there is a robotic camera is also which is on the field and it captures. So when it is capturing, it is locked to the particular player or maybe locked to the ball also, so it will keep on tracking the ball as it moves in the field. Okay, so that's how they are becoming a smart cameras. Okay, application of RGB sensor like traffic monitoring के लिए use कर सकते हो, crowd monitoring के लिए use कर सकते हो. We have seen this extensive application of these RGB sensors in Kumbh Mela. Even recently, I said 2 days back there was a pilgrimage at Pandharpur. So there also people have used drones to monitor the crowd, monitor the vehicle movements, and all those things. So it has become very useful now using the RGB cameras. Disaster management, drone can be used for fire detection, intervention monitoring, and also for post-fire monitoring. I mean, just to sense how much damage has caused and all the things, we can use those RGB sensors. Even for border security, now, as I told you, right, we are actually developing a hybrid VTOL to fly near the border area so that it can survey that. Because this border, as I told you, right, yesterday I showed you on airspace, that border area where you are not supposed to fly the drone, that is basically a no man's land, or no area where a person stays. Okay, so that area is almost 25 kilometers. Okay, so that area could be anything, depending upon where, what, how the border is. So there are some villages within that border area. If there are some villages already there, you cannot evacuate those people over there. But then you need to keep monitoring those places also. So most of the time, your border area is a very lengthy. It's very difficult to have a person to monitor them continuously, right? And even आपका पोस्ट जो रहता है वो बॉर्डर से बहुत दूर रहता है. Like it may be at least 2 kilometers, 5 kilometers away from the border. You are not, your post is not very close to, like, until unless that that Wagah border, what we call it, where they do that ceremony. That is all. That is all promotion and just just a tourism kind of thing is there. But normally your posts are never close to the border. Most of the time your post will be away from the border. At least कम से कम 1,000 meters, मतलब 1 kilometer, 2 kilometer will be away from the actual border. Okay, so not necessarily all border, like we do not have all the border fenced also. Sometimes there would be only basic marking would be there on the ground. Okay, pillars would be there or the post would be there, but आपका जो actual military post would be 1 kilometer, 2 kilometers, even sometimes 5 kilometers away from the actual border also. Okay, depending upon where the border is situated. So you have to probably nowadays, because of the drones availability and all the thing, even defense is heavily investing in having the drones either for monitoring or for attacking attacks also, carrying out the attack, surveillance, or real time capturing the footage and all that things. Okay, so huge after the war also, especially defense has already thought that we need to invest heavily in this particular segment. And also we are seeing the use cases of the drones being used between, especially Ukraine and Russia war. Okay, and even Israel Iran conflict or Israel Gaza conflict also, all this. So where we have seen it is more about drones warfare kind of thing happening. Okay, application of RGB sensors for aerial surveillance. Basically, you can use for monitoring telecom towers, power line towers, gas pipelines, windmills, any tankers, your container ships. Because container ship is so huge. It is just everywhere there are just containers. They are stacked above one another. So to monitoring, so what these people now, there was one person has come a couple of back in batches. He was actually a captain from a cargo ship. He was a captain of a cargo ship. He has come to learn to fly the drone. Okay, so see, they are actually utilizing these drones to fly near the container ship. So instead of going and taking a round around the container ship, it's very time consuming and lengthy process. So rather now they will just fly the drones and monitor the entire ship on all the sides. It becomes so easier and risk free, because a lot of time you have seen in movies like container ship go pirates and all those people attack, and they steal and also manage, because on such ship you do not have a huge people. There will be a very basic people would be there on these ships, like captain and his team, who are actually only used to, because there is no other work. You are just carrying this container from one place to another place. So on this ship you cannot have too many people. You can't have too much of security also on these ships. They are just a simply goods carrying ships kind of thing. So you will not have too many people to monitor, too many people to safeguard them. So drone has become a very useful tool for such kind of devices now. So they have started now using drones to regularly monitor the ships on all sides. It's become very easier for them to do it. Okay, so what are the applications of RGB sensors for the asset inspection works, like solar farms, wind farms, railways, bridge inspection, power lines, mobile phone towers, oil and gas, water pipes, building and constructions, all those things are useful. Then application in RGB sensor for mapping, 2D mapping, 3D mapping. Okay, 2D mapping normally you do with the fixed camera, which is pointing towards the ground horizontally, and 3D mapping where you do gimbal. So you have to take the footages with different elevations. So you can create orthomorphic maps. You can make 3D maps out of it. So maybe you may be taking at first 90 degree, then you start rotating. Change your angle of your camera at different angles. You take the photographs and you generate the 3D map of the particular locations. Okay, especially when you transition in Google Earth from 2D to 3D, You can see the entire location in a 3D. You can see the building. You can see the vehicles and all the things in the 3D map, right? When you see on Google Earth. So how they are taking? They are being taken by using gimbal camera. So you are actually changing the angle of your camera at a different positions, and you are capturing the footages. So that means you are getting the images at different angles. Okay, and then you stitch them using again a software. There is a software. Normally this is not done by manually. There is a software which checks all this data, and they are being geotagged and all the things, and then these images are being created. Okay, another application of RGB is like into construction, mining, erosion dissection, boundary management, progress project. Because again, if you see mines or big construction site is there, it's a big site, right? You can't monitor each and every corner of the site. It becomes very difficult, because unless you physically visit those places, then only you will able to see what happening at that location, or else you will not able to do it. So drone has become very helpful in this kind of scenarios, where it can capture all the footages of all the locations on regular basis, and you can track it. Okay, so mining, erosion detection, boundary management, project progress monitoring. Like up construction site pe, so what was the construction status today, after 1 month, 2 months, 3 months. If you have regular footages of this particular site, you can see the progress also, right? Here first floor tha, second floor ban gaya, third floor ban gaya. Whatever progress you are making in construction. Like similarly in mining also, if there is any change in the area, change in the location, change in the mining segments and all things, you can keep tracking out as you take footages on regular basis. You may take it on a weekly basis, or maybe every 15 days, or every 1 month time frame. Okay, so that was all applications of RGB camera. Next is thermal camera. Thermal camera is nothing but a thermographic camera or infrared camera, detects an infrared light. What is infrared light? Nothing but it is a heat which is invisible to human eye. Like my body is radiating some heat, right? So which is not visible to anybody. But if I use a thermal camera, that thermal camera will detect that difference in the temperature aside my body, and my body what is radiating the temperature. Okay, so that difference in the temperature will be detected by this thermal camera, and it will try to create the scene or image on the screen. Okay, so basically thermal imager, also known as thermal camera, is essentially a heat sensor that is capable of detecting tiny difference in temperatures. This device collects the infrared radiation from the object in the scene and creates electronic image based on the information about the temperature differences. Okay, so that is what we are seeing here in the image. Okay, so these cameras, thermal cameras, also are very expensive. I think they roughly start around 1 lakh rupees, more than 1 lakh rupees, and they can go up to 2, 3, 4, 5, depending upon the kind of sensor you have, thermal camera sensors. Okay, so depending on sensors and the quality of the camera, and how much sense it can, how far it can sense the thermal and all the things, depending on that, it will have the cost of that particular thermal cameras. Okay, so application of thermal payload. So thermal payload cameras or thermal cameras were very basic. Where people used to think कहाँ पे हम use कर सकते हैं, maybe in some industrial applications, solar panel inspection. But later on, as they start exploring, nobody thought that the thermal cameras can be used for power line inspections. Nobody thought that the thermal cameras can be used for pipeline inspection. हम सोचेंगे pipeline में क्यों use करना है? Can you think why? What difference would be there when I am using a normal RGB camera against thermal cameras for a pipeline inspection, for example? We were also not aware initially, like we were using RGB cameras, but later on we saw the utilization of thermal camera, then we saw the difference.
We can monitor some leakage or cooling in some place.
Correct.
Which is not visible.
Yeah, which is normally not visible because of normal RGB. से जब footages लेते हो pipeline का, तो normally it is just a normal pipeline. You can just see the structure. But if there is internal damage to that pipe, which is not visible from the outside, like for example, simple water pipeline ले लो. Water pipeline में क्या होता है, बाहर से कुछ damage नहीं होता है. It has been coated, painted, everything good. But internal structure is always subject to water. Okay, so over period of time, these pipelines also get eroded or rusting होता था inside से. Okay, so continuous water flow होता है, तो the water flow होता है, तो अंदर से भी somewhere like where especially at the turns are जहाँ पे bends होते हैं, that area also lot of time the rusting and damage is happening to the pipelines from inside, which is not visible from outside. So when you take the footages of thermal from that perspective, you will come to know that corrosion. So instead of having a reactive approach, like अगर हमने पता ही नहीं रहेगा, हमने थर्मल सेंस नहीं लिया, हम विजिबली देख रहे हैं सब कुछ ठीक है, and we said okay everything, all of a sudden one day the burst happens. Okay, so you will have loss of water. You have to take, you have to plan the emergency stoppage of that loss of water and all the things. So you may not be ready for all these things. Okay, so maybe एक दिन पूरा चला जाएगा, you have to get the things ready and get rectified. Maybe you have to stop the water for flowing in the city and all the things. All this will be unplanned activities. Okay, at all I would say it is a reactive activities. But अगर हम लोग थर्मल से लेते हैं और हमको पहले ही पता चलता है कि ये पर्टिकुलर लोकेशन में और दिस पर्टिकुलर लोकेशन देयर इज अ इशू and needs to be rectified or corrected on priority. So you can plan this activity with a proper planning so that minimal outage or minimal stoppage of water supply would happen. Okay, so you may say, okay, rather I would say I need to take a stoppage or stop the water flow to the city next 4 hours. So what I will do is I will say, okay, I will ask people to use minimal use of water, save as much as water possible, so that you are ready with that. So there is not panic situation, and you can plan it. And then you can say you are doing repair work for 2 hours. Outages होता है तो क्या होगा? Outage होगा तो maybe 10 घंटा 24 घंटा it could take. Then you have to take really the downtime, and then you have to stop the water. So already you have lost 1 day of water plus you have to take a downtime, maybe half a day or whatever time you require for rectifying that. So it is a lengthy process. अगर आपको proactively आपको पता चल गया कि ये प्रॉब्लम है, you can plan the things, you can plan the rectification, and you can only minimize the outage or effect of the stoppage of water. Example I'm telling you. Even power line towers may be. Sometimes when we were doing the power line tower, हम लोग RGB use कर रहे थे, उसमें तो normally just physically जो भी चीजें हैं वो पता चलती है. But when we were actually flown the thermal cameras and then we saw that the wires, different wires were showing different thermal images. Okay, and when we shared those footages with the board also were not aware what is happening. But later on, when they investigated, they came to know that where there was a different type of thermal images coming from the power lines, they understood that the wire where they have utilized low grade wires was giving a different images, whereas a good quality image is giving. So they came to know from the thermal segment which wire is a good quality and any bad quality, how to justify or how to understand. So they verified which vendor has used what kind of wires or what type of wires are there which are good. So then they found some trend also, like जो bad quality wire use कर रहे थे ना वो जल्दी ऑक्सीडाइज हो रहा था या जल्दी जल रहा था या हीट की वजह से they were giving lot of problems which is not visible to your normal eye. Okay, so ये usefulness आ गया because of the thermal cameras. Okay, then we have seen in industrial inspections also skin temperature during COVID times. Lot of thermal sensors were used at airports or important locations and all that. Even wildlife monitoring में भी thermal camera use होता है because they want to see the migrations or movements of the wildlife without disturbing their day-to-day life or day-to-day routines. You just fly the drone with the thermal camera and track those wildlife monitoring activities. So application of thermal payload for building inspection, moisture and insulation. So this is also one of the useful use case is there of thermal payload. So आप drone fly करो roof पे, automatically you will know where what is moisture, where is insulation required, where is roofing is required, and all that things you can do. Especially leakages आपको अगर find करना है, so you can use thermal cameras to find out. Okay, even in firefighting also, what is the source of the fire and all that, in that scenario also you can use thermal camera. Autonomous vehicle and automatic braking also, there also you normally use. I really don't know because I have not seen this application where it is, how it is used, but normally they say use thermal payloads or for autonomous vehicle or automatic braking also. Skin temperature we talked about, right, about in the airport. इंडस्ट्रियल इंस्पेक्शंस में भी आप यूज कर सकते हो, where there is a very complex and you want to survey the complete structure. That time you will fly the drone with the thermal payload and capture all the heat sense or heat hotspots, what we call normally. And if there is any requirement to rectify them, so we can rectify and avoid any big disaster or any big outage. Okay, solar is this is one of the location where extensively thermal cameras have been used to monitor the solar panels. Okay, power line inspection we talked. Okay, then apart from thermal, then there is something called lidar. Okay, lidar sensor technology. Lidar sensor technology is nothing but light detection and ranging sensor, which uses light energy emitted from a laser to scan the ground and measure the variable distance. So what is lidar technology in drones? Drones are any drones which can carry lidar. There are specific drones which are made, like जैसे मैंने आपको बोला Vintra version 2 comes by default with the lidar sensor. Okay, so they have their own lidar sensors made for the particular module. Okay, so there are drones which are only specifically designed for carrying the lidar, because lidar थोड़ा सा complex and बड़ा device रहता है and थोड़ा सा bulky और heavy भी होता है, so you need to have a proper drone designed for that particular payload to carry. They are used to collect data that can be used made for detailed 3D model for variety of applications and industries. So especially we have seen in agriculture, in terrain mapping or forestry, all those locations, the lidar is being used. Like you see, lidar, which stands for light detection ranging, is a remote sensing technology that uses laser beam to get the information about the surrounding object. Since its inception, scientists have used lidar to map earth surface and acquire meteorological, like geological data या फिर meteorological data also can be acquired using lidar. So you can see in the images like the structure, the vegetation, agriculture, forestry, they inspect. So like normally even in our power line towers also we were using lidar to detect the vegetation which was growing near the power line towers. Okay, so that is what the actual use is. But then that point in time it was becoming very expensive to have a lidar use for such kind of activity, because we were not having the drone which was having a lidar, and if you want to get a lidar separately, so there was we had a lot of challenges in utilizing the lidar initially. Later on they actually bought a separate drone with the lidar sensor itself, but then again that's an expensive device and complicated device to operate and use. So we convinced the board to reduce or avoid using lidar sensor, because they were only using for basic seeing the vegetation which is grown near the tower. Okay, around the tower ground में, जैसे अभी आप rainy season में क्या होता है, बहुत it rains for a lot of things, so the grass grows near the tower, so that grass needs to be cut, so they need the footage. So we said we will give you a thermal and the RGB images of the footages of the tower base, and based on that you can compare, like you do it now, there is a grass and all that, creepers and all those things have grown. You get the vendor to clean it up. Once he does the cleanup, you give us, we'll again capture the same footages for you, and you can compare. Like in earlier footage it was having all those grass and the creepers and plants around the tower. Now it has been cleaned. That is more than enough, so you don't wasting the budget unnecessary on lidar sensor, because just to manage, because for that purpose, because that was when the tendering was done, the tender document was made, they had called some 1 or 2 drone vendors only, and they suggested that okay, get the footages of RGB, thermal and lidar. Okay, but they didn't define much lidar से आप क्या capture करोगे in thermal. Okay, because वहाँ पे हमको कोई elevation तो नहीं capture करना है. तो lidar is basically to acquire the meteorological or geological data kind of things only. बाकी तो normally पावर लाइन टावर में आपको लाइडर का कोई जरूरत नहीं. अगर आप वेजिटेशन ही मॉनिटर करने के लिए कर रहे हो तो यू कैन डू इट यूजिंग आरजीबी कैमरास आल्सो. दैट इज व्हाट वी कन्विंस टू द बोर्ड. ओके, then application, like there are various application we can talk about. We can have 10 more applications to talk about it, but we are just touching base on the agriculture segment, because that is where it is, the drone is being utilized very effectively and more we can see, and there is a lot of work to be done in this particular field, where the drone can be useful for farmer for getting better yield from the field. Okay, so like drone can be help farmers to optimize the use of inputs, that is seed, fertilizer, water, to react more quickly to the threats like weed, pesty, fungi, to save time crop scouting, that validate treatment and action taken. That means if you are aware that what is how your crop is getting affected, and you should able to take the treatment or action plan to mitigate those issues, which will help to improve the variable rate prescription in real time and estimate the yield from field. So you will, if you optimally use the drones, because earlier if you are not doing the crop monitoring using the drones, until you physically visit your crop in the field, then only we will come to know that your crop is being affected. But without going inside the field, if the crop is very complex, very dense, going inside the crop field is also very sometimes dangerous and difficult also. So in that scenario, basically when you fly the drone, it becomes very useful, and it can give you real time, real images of your crop and give you the complete statistics. Which area of, like if the small area of your crop field is being affected, you can immediately take action for that particular field. Rather, the effect of pest or fungi or weed affecting your entire crop. Okay, the small area, if it even it is affected, your crop monitoring software will able to detect and tell you immediately what needs to be done. Okay, so there are other applications, like right now you can see drone used for light shows and all that things are being used, right? This is what I want to show the picture. Like you see this, earlier I had a separate image also of this particular this thing. You can see, if I see this pipeline, okay, in a normal RGB camera it looks very very neat and clean and good. But until unless I took the real footage using thermal camera, I came to know here these are the places. You see here where I told you, right? See where there water is flowing straight, no problem in the pipes. But wherever there is a bend, bend or deformation is there. So there water is actually eroding the structure from the inside. Rusting is happening. So you see there is a huge rusting at this place. Here rusting has happened. Here also rusting has happened. So this is very very difficult. So we said that this was bend given to this particular structure. We said okay, either we can make a straight connection, but there was a little bit obstacle in between here. That's why they have to shake this. So they have to this was a continuous pipe. So then what they did is they put what is that called? What is that called? I forgot the name. There is a couplers. Okay, so they fix the couplers at this end and this end. So every time they get them information that this particular bend is faulty, gone faulty over the period, maybe down the line like 1 year or 2 years के बाद. So they just have to remove the couplings, change this piece and replace with the new piece. That's it. पहले कैसे था, ये पूरा single pipe था. So it was very difficult to replace. So when they did first time, they just have to replace the entire length of the pipe, okay, with the particular shape. Later on they applied couplings here and this location, they applied the couplings, and they just have to replace this particular portion of the pipe. That's it, nothing else they have to do it. Okay, so that's how their efficiency, like outages nahi ho raha hai, breakage nahi ho raha hai, and all the things. So it is safeguarding them from all outages by using thermal camera to monitor the pipelines. Okay, so with that we complete the payload installation and utilization topic over here. Okay, so let's take a 10 minutes break, and then we'll go for our last topic, that is image and video interpretations. Okay.
Okay.